So I wanted to make a little bit more thorough video about the trim on my 1966 Valiant. So the real issue is if you're doing a car like this, in simple terms, it's not a Mustang, it's not a Camaro. There's not a lot of reproduction parts available for it. And in this particular case, the 66 Valiant convertibles have a lot of trim on them. So you're kind of on your own for finding original pieces in good condition. And a lot of times people don't really know the details of, oh yeah, I've got some Valiant parts, and like the 65 is different than 67. And then there's also difference within the model year. So this is considered a highline trim level. So has a lot of unique pieces on it. Now, luckily with Valiants, they make thousands of them. So it's not really an impossible task, but kind of just going through all the trim. And before I get too far, what you get if I'm not really restoring this car. I do want to make it look presentable though. But what you get into is if the better you make one thing look, well, then the other stuff looks bad. Like if your bumpers look really bad and you get them re-chromed, well, then it might make your other bright work look pretty shabby. So just for instance, obviously there's a big bumper here. Mine aren't in too bad a shape. I consider them presentable. But each one of these Plymouth letters is an individual piece. And the interesting thing about it is some of those are shared with the 65 Valiants and Barracudas, but not the M or the O. Those are 1 year only parts. And the little posts or peg that they're mounted with are in different locations than, say, a 1965 model year that spells the M in the Plymouth. The grille is actually 5 separate pieces. Obviously a center grille. Well, 6 if you count the emblem there. 2 side grills. And you find a lot of the trim on this car is aluminum. So these grills are like those grills are aluminum. They're pretty easily dented. And then there's a headlight trim ring. So that's a lot of little separate pieces. All of them can look damaged, all of them can look bad. And what's interesting, I've taken enough of these apart that there's 3 screws holding this bezel on. Now they're a real fine thread, but what's interesting is there's one in the bottom here, and that one's silver. The other 2 are up here where it's painted black, and the 2 up there are black, or they're supposed to be black. So that's what happens if you have sort of an oddball car like this, is you end up being your expert on all these little details you want to go through. Now there's a lot of side trim, and I just replaced this piece with a better one. So these cars, when they were new, they had an upper color, and then the lower body was painted a silver or an argent. And you know, in the last 50 years, a lot of them have been repainted, and people just don't keep that argent there. They just paint right over it. Especially convertibles, they usually get painted red, because who doesn't want a red convertible? And they get rid of the side trim, they fill those holes in. So that's a dead giveaway. To me, when you see a car painted, one of these 66 Valiant convertibles painted all one color. Here's another piece of trim. It should say Valiant Signet. It's obviously broken off, and it's funny. I can spot the cars with V8s in them because they'll have some sort of emblem down here. This one says Commando V8. That's because they have the 4-barrel engine. And the one on the other side, all the red's gone from the paint, or from that painted area. And then below it it's supposed to be a gold Pentastar, but only on the right side. It's kind of like, the idea is it's like they were signing a painting, you know, in the bottom right corner. And all along the side is more of this trim. Now obviously the pieces on the door and the quarter panel are a lot longer, and that's just a big pain in the butt tracking down good pieces. I think it's aluminum, so again, it's fairly easily damaged. It's supposed to be painted with a black stripe in the middle. And the other hard part is all of the fasteners. There must be 6 or 7 different fasteners holding this on. Now these are aftermarket replacement ones. So this car's been painted once long before I got it, which was almost 20 years ago. So I can't put all the side trim on because I don't quite have enough of the clips to put them on. So I'm waiting for those to come in. And then one of the difficult pieces with the side trim is this wheel opening trim. So it goes here, held on with screws, and it sort of nestles in with that side piece of trim too. Now these are really hard to come by in fairly decent shape. This one has a few dents and dings. It looks old, and I'm really happy to have this because a lot of times these corroded away because they're aluminum on a steel fender. There was a galvanic reaction and these literally dissolved. I mean, they were literally a sacrificial anode. And then the ones that are really hard to find are the rear ones, where they had a lot more spray from the tires. So I've been sort of accumulating all of this trim whenever I can find it. I've even bought some cars and parted them out. I haven't done one of those in over 10 years, but that's what you have to do when you have a car that you're just not gonna get those pieces reproduced. In another little thing, there's this little piece of stainless steel trim that kind of finishes off the convertible area, but hopefully you can see it. Usually on these cars, they're almost all have a ding here, and that's when this trunk lid opens up. If it comes too far, it puts a crease here. So, you know, I would love to find those pieces in really good shape. Oh yeah, and then the stainless trim that finishes off this whole boot area, there's a little piece in the middle. So a lot of people are restoring their car or they're parting one out, and that's an easy piece to misplace. The trunk emblem I talked about before, that needs a lot more color. I had a separate video on this piece of aluminum trim that says Plymouth on it, and then the headlights are a whole conversation to themselves. Actually, you can see there's a little crazing in the chrome here, and I'm really glad to have ones in this nice a condition, because there's the chrome, there's gaskets in there, there's the 3 separate lenses, and these are really poorly designed taillights, because a lot of times the bulb that's in here is too close to the red lens there, and it melts the red lens or it overheats it and it's all cracked and crazed. And so it's really a pain in the butt, you know, I would say restoring or trying to find really nice trim for one of these 66 Valiants. And like I say, I don't want it perfect, I just really want it presentable. Oh, then there's this convertible trim. If you see here, the chrome's not the greatest. Now, I had some extra pieces of this and I sent them out to get re-chromed, and that's fine. It's just expensive, and it's getting hard to find places that chrome things. And I also want to point out on the interior is we've got this piece of chrome trim here. In almost every car I've seen, even ones from the desert, those are usually pitted or have really bad chrome. So it gets to be, you know, kind of a challenge tracking down all these little bits and pieces and getting the right ones. and then having the right stuff to attach them. So I mean, it's really, really challenging, and you know, most people don't pay too much attention to old Plymouth Valiants, so you don't get a lot of you know, knowledge out there, people helping you with the fine little details, like, oh yeah, that's only on the convertibles or the two-door hardtops. I mean, most people just don't know. So like I say, you really have to know what's going on. Oh, another little detail, I had a new windshield put in. The original one was just old. It was just needed to be replaced, and they do have new rubbers for these, for the convertibles, and that's great, but they should have a locking strip that's chrome, so it should be rubber, chrome, rubber. And usually on an original car, that chrome for the locking strip is gone, so you'll see them all kinds of colors: yellow, maybe brown, maybe black. So that's another little detail to, you know, if you want to make it look proper, you know, you need to have some chrome in there. So oh, and then we have these fender tops. These are aluminum. They get dinged up, and you got to be careful because there's the different models. Like, I think the one on a 4-door is longer. Also, Barracuda has a similar one. I think the Barracuda's is stainless steel, which is you know, gonna be a lot more robust. Or the stainless steel is a little bit easier to restore, or I shouldn't say easier. You can make it look really good with a lot of effort. So anyway, that's one of the things I've been working on lately, is trying to sort all my trim that I've been stashing for a dozen years or so and get it on the car so it looks good. So hopefully this helps someone, and let me know what you think.